Global cosmetic regulation is moving toward a model of mandatory pre-market verification. Oversight is shifting away from reactive damage control. Historically, the United States utilized a system of post-market surveillance. Regulatory bodies like the FDA typically intervened only after a product caused documented harm to consumers. The new global standard reverses that dynamic. Under pre-market verification, the burden of toxicological proof resides strictly with the manufacturer before a single unit reaches the shelf. Competing in modern global markets requires treating analytical chemistry as the definitive act of compliance. The architectural blueprint for these modern pre-market verification systems traces back to D.H.Liem's 1976 Wageningen thesis. Liem established the principle that consumer safety legislation is impossible to enforce with strict binary lists dictating exactly which ingredients are permitted and which are prohibited. He demonstrated that these lists hold no legal weight unless they are enforced by precise empirical, chromatographic, and biological analytical methods. This chart categorizes the specific chemical compounds Liem researched to build his foundation. His methodology focused heavily on antimicrobial preservation and UV absorbers. This research has been cited continuously across decades of safety regulations. By linking toxicological thresholds with analytical testing, Liem's methodology established the primary framework for today's European cosmetic safety laws. The EU Annex system realizes Liem's binary lists. Annex 2 absolutely bans over 1,700 hazardous substances. Annexes 4 through 6 are positive lists for approved colorants, preservatives, and UV filters. Annex 3 permits restricted substances only within strict concentration and pH limits. The rules for parabens demonstrate this specificity. Short-chain molecules, like methylparaben, are allowed up to a 0.4% concentration. Longer-chain variants, like butylparaben, carry higher concerns regarding endocrine activity. They are capped at 0.14% and prohibited in baby products. Isopropylparaben, lacking sufficient safety data, fails to meet these thresholds entirely. It is relegated to Annex 2 and banned. Formaldehyde releasers are capped at 0.2%. Any concentration equal to or greater than 0.05% triggers mandatory warning labels on the packaging. Formulators must apply cumulative math. When a product uses multiple formaldehyde releasers, their combined yield must be calculated to guarantee the total does not breach the 0.2% ceiling. Within a pre-market verification system, a single molecular variation or a miscalculated cumulative fraction renders a product illegal to sell. Expanding internationally means navigating divergent regulatory philosophies. The U.S. MACRA requires facility registration within 60 days and product listing within 120. China's CSAR demands complete life cycle tracking and rigorous safety evaluations. The EU requires a localized responsible person and a complex safety dossier. Designing a globally compliant product requires architecting formulations capable of surviving these regulatory filters from the start. The product information file is a comprehensive, legally binding safety dossier. It must be updated as regulations evolve and retained by the responsible person for 10 years after the final batch reaches the market. The core of the PIF is the Cosmetic Product Safety Report. Part A demands the raw toxicological data, stability test results, and human exposure assessments for every compound in the formula. This includes quantifying impurity limits. Heavy metals like lead and arsenic cannot be added intentionally, and unavoidable traces must remain below strict limits, such as lead kept under 10 milligrams per kilogram. Part B provides the formal risk evaluation. A scientifically qualified expert analyzes the data from Part A and issues a conclusive signature verifying the product's safety. Manufacturers must document good manufacturing practices under ISO 22716 standards to prove production consistency. The final administrative step requires submitting the completed safety data to the European Commission's notification portal prior to market launch. Compiling the PIF forces a brand to mathematically and chemically defend every decision made during formulation. For international brands targeting the EU, the first step is conducting a strict formulation gap analysis. Formulators identify prohibited ingredients, like the antimicrobial triclosan or the skin lightener hydroquinone, and strip them entirely from the recipe. Brands reformulate using approved alternatives. Prohibited compounds can be replaced with alternatives like niacinamide or kojic acid, dialed into their specific legal concentration limits. Formulators verify these raw materials against the European Commission's causing database to ensure purity standards are met and trace impurities are minimized. Finally, the brand appoints an EU-based responsible person, completes the product information file, and finalizes the portal notification. Executing this proactive roadmap eliminates the risk of border customs seizures and post-market recalls. Modern cosmetic compliance is a rigorous discipline of chemical engineering. Today's exacting toxicological thresholds and extensive product information files trace directly to the framework established by D.H.Liem in 1976. Many international brands utilize EU Regulation 1223/2009 as a baseline for global safety standards. This strict architectural approach to chemical formulation secures continuous product innovation and unhindered access to the entire global market.